So, like, let's say you get a quant fund that comes to present to you, and I'm not sure about your technical background, but I'm sure for most people in most industries, the engineering side of quantitative investing is probably beyond us.
Yep.
And also, it's a notoriously secretive industry because they want to keep their proprietary research proprietary. How do you go about assessing someone that's highly technical and highly secretive?
Yeah, well, as I said, transparency is a big focus of our, and being able to explain this to a client of how is it performing. But there's a book I read, just to give me some industry background. It's called Inside the Black Box.
Okay.
And meeting through some quant funds as well, they all have a similar model. So there's kind of three models. There's an alpha model, there's a risk model, and then there's a trade optimization model. And you can delve into almost all of them have the same fundamental start. I mean, they've all been through the academics, so you can start with that. So you just understand what is the alpha model, which is the main thing you're looking at. Is it just a momentum? Is it looking to look at factors? You're just trying to dive into what exactly is in that. And most of them are actually quite open. So when I say quant funds, there are quant funds, especially in private markets that I've heard of, that just set themselves, the owners don't even know how they trade or how they buy.
No way.
So there is literally those out there, and apparently people have lots of money in them.
Wow.
But what we like to see with these things is every signal has a fundamental rational economic basis.
Okay, yeah.
So that's kind of a green flag, like we can understand. So this thing is just looking for things where it's got insider buying. It's, there's fundamental reasons, like it's got growing free cash flows, brokers are positive on it. Things that have a fundamental economic reason as to why they'd go up versus down versus this algorithm is saying this will lever long into this one asset or whatever.
Yeah. We'll let it until it stops. We'll let it go until it stops working.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was the big concern when I first looked at these funds, and I did brush them off for quite a while, because there were crashes in the past where I think you've heard like markets dropped 5% and they go into a trading halt within because they dropped 5% in 5 minutes, and it's like the S&P 500, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there are risks, but I believe they're more differentiated now. They've grown up. It's been 15 years. It's just something to keep an eye on, and something I've seen that's been growing. And Vinville was one that just came to market. Another one we will be looking at.
Nice. That's cool.
That's exciting.
So that's two asset classes that you're seeing more of that are perhaps exciting. Are there any asset classes or styles of investing that you're seeing more of that you're a little bit more wary of?
Yeah, well, I think this is the private markets, and mainly just private credit. It's been a lot in the financial media, but the issue is that it's quite easy to set up a fund and go out there and start making loans. It's easy to write credits. If you can write a loan pretty easily. Getting paid back is the hard bit. And there's a fundamental reason why these exist, and there's a reason why the industry is growing up. The banks have basically been regulated out of those industries, and there's a reason why they're regulated out. There's risk there. A lot of them are development loans, construction loans. Nothing wrong with that. That needs to happen in the economy, but you need to be compensated for that risk. If I'm getting 8% for that, when I can get 7% in an investment grade bond, why am I taking the risk? I think there's just a risk reward compensation, especially when they get marketed to retail investors as a term deposit. Those things raise red flags with the regulators, raise red flags with me. So if I'm taking the risk, we want to be compensated, and then we want to know how they're going to get their money, how we're going to get our money back. Is there any collateral? What's the track record? I believe even the largest managers in this space, you're talking like the Apollos in the US, they didn't go through the GFC. They were set up in 2010.
Yeah.
So there are very few that have been, we went through COVID, but that was over in 6 months. Rates were cut. We haven't been in a long grinding recession for a long time. So I think there's just a lot of risk there. Again, a lot of opportunity. We are quite positive on quite things. Like there's one that does RMBS, residential mortgage-backed securities, and asset-based securities, like a specific sleeve of private credit that we're quite positive on. It's just being aware that are you getting compensated for the risk you're taking.
Be interesting when there is a shakeout of the industry to see how it all plays out.
Exactly, yes.
So Adam, for any sort of one asset class or like one slice of the portfolio, how do you think about the right number of managers to have when it comes to constructing the whole thing?
Yeah, so I don't think there's a right number. I think one manager is fine if it's a passive and you decided to go passive and that's your best solution for that sleeve of the portfolio. One is fine. If you are going down an active pathway that's going to be significantly different from the index, you might want 2 or 3. Like if you're going through an active manager, just like we're talking about quality GARP, if you've got all quality GARP managers in there, guess what? If that has a bad year, you're going to be underperforming the index by quite a lot, and possibly for 3, 5, 10 years as well. You have to be able to explain that to a client. Most of them aren't usually benchmarking against the index, but it's a way we assess each sleeve of our portfolio as well. We actually break it down. We're looking at the performance of our selected sleeves with our weights against the actual benchmark. And similar to how the super performance test works, where you see that superannuations have failed their performance tests, we did the same thing with our portfolios, just to make sure we're at the institutional grade. So if those regulations do come to our industry, which we're fully expecting at some point.
Oh, that is interesting. So you expect that, similar to super funds, if advised clients have portfolios that underperform, the advisor will have to notify them?
Yeah, specifically around managed accounts. So it's a very growing part of the industry, separately managed accounts. This is where you act with discretion. I think the old model where you're going back to the client with an SOA and ROA and they have to say yes or no, it's hard for the regulator to go, okay, pull you up for underperforming if the specific client requested you to have that asset in your portfolio.
Yeah,
they can't
in
put
Bitcoin,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But if it's a managed account where you have full discretion, I think it's something that will happen eventually, especially considering just how much focus there is in the industry. I mean, you saw just yesterday GDG look to acquire Evidentia, one of the big asset consultants that focuses on managed accounts in the industry. Everyone can see the opportunity here. It creates a lot of efficiencies in advisor practices. You can serve more clients when cost is a big focus. So once this pool gets big enough, this fund, like it's expected to grow into the billions, I can't see the regulators.
Yeah, well, I think AFR's headline was GDG targets $1 trillion opportunity or something like that. So it's like, come on, calm down.
Slightly overhyped, but again, 5-10 years down the track.
But the AFR would never overhype anything.
Never.